Billionaire saves single mom from despair. Can twins survive without formula? The street was buzzing, an electric hum hanging in the air, thick with gossip and intrigue. It was a scene ripped from a movie. A sprawling mansion loomed over the neighborhood, its majestic facade both a beacon and a prison. Last week, it had been the talk of the town, but now, whispers spiraled into hysteria. Billionaire Alex Donovan had swooped in like a modern-day knight. But who was the damsel in distress? A widowed mother on the brink, clinging to hope with trembling hands, raising newborn twins in a world that had come crashing down around her. The moment Clara Jones had crossed paths with Alex, her life had taken a sharp turn. Rumor had it he didn't just buy fancy cars or dine with elites, he saved people. His charm was magnetic, effortlessly pulling in the curious and desperate. And yet, lurking in every hushed conversation was a darker undercurrent. Alex's benevolence? Many questioned it. Was he a guardian angel or a wolf in disguise? The stakes were rising, and Clara's heart raced with fear and uncertainty, echoing the cries of her twins, still needing nourishment as the clock ticked dangerously toward payday. As Clara stood outside her shabby apartment, the air wrapped around her like a vice. A familiar knot twisted in her stomach, anxiety simmering just below the surface. How could she care for her babies when the pantry was bare? The worry in her chest swelled until it was almost suffocating. And then, like a shadow cast over her hopes, there was Alex, his figure tall and imposing, yet somehow comforting. With a voice both smooth and commanding, he offered her a lifeline wrapped in intrigue. But the more Clara learned, the deeper the mystery wound itself around her. Could she trust him? What were the real ties between them? Could the glamour of his world hide secrets darker than her own? Every question choked her, every possibility hanging in the air like thick fog, turning that moment into something suspended in time. The twins gurgled innocently, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing between two very different worlds. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As Clara stood on the brink of a decision that could alter the course of her life, the weight of her uncertainty pressed down on her shoulders. Alex's dark eyes burned into hers, a calm determination beneath the surface, as he challenged her to step into his world. The tension cut through the air like a knife. She could feel her heart pounding, the rush of adrenaline pushing her forward, torn between the safety of the known and the exhilarating danger of the unknown. What would happen if she let him in? Would it truly save her, or would it only lead to more despair? The crowd held its breath, watching, waiting for her reply. It was a moment poised on the edge of chaos, transforming her desperation into something that could ignite a glimmer of hope or plunge her further into darkness. The time for her answer was fast approaching, but the choice felt heavier than her twins in her arms. Would she dare to trust him? Clara's breath hitched in her throat. She had faced many moments in her life losing her husband, struggling every day to make ends meet, but this felt different. Looking into Alex's eyes was like staring into a storm, powerful and chaotic. What was hidden beneath that charming smile? The crowd around them shifted, murmurs circulating like wildfire. Will she step up? One bystander wondered aloud. What does he want? Another whispered, eyes darting between Clara and Alex, captivated by the drama unfolding in their neighborhood. Clara, Alex said softly, a warmth in his tone that felt almost like a promise. You and those twins deserve a chance. Let me help you. Could she? The words danced on the tip of her tongue, a question tangled with dread. The weight of her decision pressed down like lead. She imagined what it could mean: a cozy home, enough food, a future. But there was a flicker of fear that clawed at her insides. What strings would be attached to his kindness? Her thoughts spiraled as she wavered, the twins squirming in her arms, unaware and innocent, but completely dependent on her. Trust. It scared her. The world around her felt like a chess game, and Alex was a piece she didn't know how to move. What if he wants something in return? She thought, anxiety coursing through her. What could he possibly want from her? Could it be money? A favor? Her gratitude twisted in her gut, and she struggled to settle the turmoil inside. Clara? The urgency in his voice brought her back. The world faded back into view. I can help you get the formula and everything you need for your twins. But first, I need you to trust me. Trust. A word that felt heavy and elusive, like mist over water. In that moment, her mind flashed to those long nights of worry when money didn't stretch and tears felt like the only release. Every instinct told her to run, to keep her babies close and safe from the unknown. But could she really turn down help? Wasn't survival worth the risk? The crowd quieted, their eyes glued on her, 1,000 opinions swirling, but in that instant, all Clara could hear was the rhythmic breathing of her twins. Their soft coos reminded her of what was at stake, what she couldn't afford to lose. All right, she finally whispered, voice trembling. I'll accept your help. A wave of relief washed over Alex, but Clara's heart raced. She could feel the uncertainty of her choice clutching at her throat, an echo of dread and hope intermingled in her veins. Let us get started then, Alex replied, a hint of a smile breaking through. I promise, Clara, I won't let you down. But just as she took a step towards him, a piercing scream shattered the moment. The crowd turned in unison, gasping in shock. A figure emerged from the shadows, wild-eyed and desperate, a chaos that felt ripped straight from a nightmare. Clara felt her heart plummet at the sight, realization dawning too late. What now? The tension thickened like fog curling around her as the stranger shouted, panic etched in their voice. You don't know who he is. He's dangerous. Clara's breath caught, her body frozen between two worlds. Trust or fear? The choice shifted in a terrifying flash. Just as she thought she had found her answer, the ground beneath her began to crack. How deep did Alex's secrets run? Around her, the crowd gasped, and for Clara, everything seemed to spiral out of control. What had she just stepped into? The future flickered like a dying light, and the haunting echoes of uncertainty lingered. Could she still make it out alive with her twins, or had she just signed up for a perilous journey into darkness? The chaos escalated as questions swirled, and Clara's heart raced. She felt both the thrill of stepping into the unknown, and the shiver of instinct telling her to turn back. What was coming for her next? Clara's heart pounded as the crowd clung to the edges of tension, their faces painted with a mix of shock and curiosity. The wild-eyed figure stepped forward, trembling as they pointed an accusatory finger at Alex. You don't know the truth about him, they shouted, voice cracking with desperation. He's not here to help, he's here to manipulate. The air grew thick, suffocating. Clara felt as though the world was tilting, the winds of fate howling around her, as she struggled to regain her footing. The twins squirmed in her arms, sensing her unease, their soft cries igniting her protective instincts. Who are you? Clara finally managed to ask, her voice painted with apprehension. What do you mean, manipulate? A harsh laugh escaped the stranger's lips, tinged with madness. I'm the one who has seen it. The truth behind his charm. You're just another pawn in his game. Clara's gaze flicked to Alex, searching for reassurance in his steady demeanor. But the confidence in his eyes felt suddenly clouded. Was that a flicker of annoyance? Challenge? The crowd leaned in, the lines of judgment drawn sharply across their faces. Back off, Alex commanded, stepping between Clara and the stranger, eyes narrowing dangerously. You're just trying to stir trouble. This doesn't concern you. Oh, but it does. The stranger persisted, their voice rising in pitch with each word. How many others have fallen for his lies? How many have suffered because of his so-called help? Each accusation struck Clara like a slap. The weight of every word sank deep into her bones. She clutched the twins tighter, her mind racing. Was this all just an elaborate trap? Clara, listen to me, Alex interrupted, his voice low but firm. They're trying to scare you. I can help you. We can get out of here, away from all of this madness. Madness? Clara looked back at the stranger, incredulous. What if you're the one being deceitful? What if he means to hurt us? The crowd erupted into murmurs, uncertainty rippling through them. They were no longer passive observers but engaged witnesses, every eye prying into her dilemma. Clara felt exposed, vulnerable. Just then, as if summoned by the tension, a police siren wailed in the distance. Clara's heart seized. We need to go, she said, urgency flooding her voice. The urgency got lost in the chaos, consumed by fear. Please! The stranger beseeched, their voice turning almost pleading. Get away while you can. He'll only bring you pain. Clara's mind spun as she weighed her choices. The sound of the siren grew closer, amplifying her overwhelming sense of dread. She glanced between Alex and the stranger, each one pulling at her in different directions. Would running mean sealing her fate? Or staying could entrap her in a wider web of deceit? Clara? Alex's voice cut through her thoughts. Trust me, it's going to be okay. Focus on our plan. The whispered assurance dripped with uncertainty now, buried beneath layers of doubt. The world spun faster, shadows pressing in on her mind. A dawning realization took hold: this trap was not just between her and Alex, but spiraled outwards into a deeper conspiracy. Before she could decide, the police car pulled into view, flashing lights painting the street in a disorienting swirl of blue and red. Clara's heart raced more fiercely, every beat suffocating her hope. Run! The stranger yelled, stepping back as if ready to take flight. The crowd moved back, suddenly aware of the gravity of the situation. They began to scatter, panic rising like smoke. But as Clara clutched her twins, the decision loomed over her like a dark cloud, threatening to swallow her whole. Could she truly trust? The whispers of the crowd suffocated her voice of reason as every instinct screamed to take flight. Clara, now! Alex shouted, his eyes pleading for her to follow. Every second ticked, choices hanging in the air heavy with consequence. She could feel the abyss of uncertainty beneath her feet, the tug of darkness threatening to drag her in. What awaited her beyond this moment? What horrors or salvation lay ahead? And as sirens wailed and shadows loomed, would she take the leap into the unknown, or retreat to safety's forbidden embrace? Clara hesitated, her heart racing like a wild animal caught in a snare. The sound of shouting voices and distant sirens blurred into a chaotic symphony, drowning her thoughts in panic. The strangers were beginning to disperse, their eyes filled with dread, and she felt this swell of uncertainty grip her chest harder. Clara? Alex urged again, urgency piercing through her hesitation. The crowd instinctively parted for them as if sensing the peril that clung to the air. We don't have time. She wanted to flee, to sprint away from it all, but her body felt anchored to the ground. The stranger's words echoed in her mind, each syllable wrapping around her thoughts like a vine. He's here to manipulate. She glanced around, needing to make sense of the reality before her. Trust was a fragile frame, and it was splintering under intense scrutiny. Clara, please! Alex's voice cracked, the tension in his tone breaking the spell of confusion. The urgency was more palpable now, with the police car parked just a few yards away, its siren shrieking as if desperate to drag her from this nightmare. Finally, an instinct surged through her, one driven by survival, a raw, primal urge to protect her children. She could not afford to be led astray, not now with the twins in her arms. I don't know if I can trust you, she stammered, desperation leaking into her voice. What do you want me to say? He snapped, a flicker of frustration flashing in his eyes. I'm trying to help. We have to move before they catch us here. I just need to know. Clara pressed. Is it true? Are you using us? Are you really what you claim to be? I'm not your enemy. He shot back, just as the police began to pour from their car, commanding authority with shouts for the crowd to disperse. They're the ones you should be afraid of. Before she could respond, an officer loomed closer, eyes scanning the crowd, searching for trouble. Clara knew they wouldn't hesitate to intervene. She had a choice, the siren screaming a warning that echoed her own fear. Clara? Alex urged again, and suddenly he was moving, grabbing her wrists and tugging her toward a narrow alley beside the building. We need to go, now. With the twins nestled against her, she stumbled forward, propelled by both Alex's grip and a desperate instinct to escape. The alley smelled of garbage and desperation, its shadow enveloping them as they hurried through the narrow path. The sounds of chaos faded behind them, the crowd's panic a distant echo. Why him? Why now? Clara whispered frantically, holding the twins close, their small bodies trembling against her. The cold sweat on her brow mingled with the fear coursing through her veins. What do you want with us? I just want to keep you safe, Alex insisted, pulling her deeper into the shadows where the light flickered dimly. I swear to you, Clara, I'm not like that. You have to believe me. There's a storm coming, and it's not from the police. It's bigger. The word bigger hung between them like a dark cloud, promising trouble. Clara's heart sank deeper into her chest. Was she running from the police or from a truth she dared not face? As Alex led her through the winding alley, the walls seemed to close in, each twist taking them further away from a safety she had once clung to. But why? Why me? She pressed, desperation clinging to her as tightly as her children. The uncertainty was suffocating. He paused suddenly, his gaze penetrating, eyes full of intensity. Because you're stronger than you know. You have something they want, Clara. Something they'll kill to get. The weight of his words crashed over her like a tidal wave. The fear that had been simmering now boiled to a head, seizing her throat with a tight grip. She looked down at her twins, feeling the gravity of their innocence in a world steeped in darkness. Alex, she breathed, her voice trembling with the sudden realization. What are you saying? Just as more sirens wailed nearby, the urgency pulsing through her veins, she glanced back toward the alley's exit and the world outside. Would she truly find safety at the end of this dark path? Or would fear plunge her into an abyss deeper than she could ever imagine? The questions spiraled, an uneasy knot forming in her gut. As the officers began pushing into the alley, Clara could feel time slipping through her fingers like sand. With her choices narrowing, would she unravel the truth and take a leap into the unknown, or would this moment seal her fate in the clutches of danger? The tension in the air crackled like live wires as they rushed deeper into the alley. Clara's heart pounded painfully against her ribcage, each thump echoing her rising panic. She could hear footsteps behind them, growing louder, more menacing. Keep moving! Alex's voice rang sharp and urgent, propelling her forward. The alley was dark, shadows twisting around them like tendrils. Clara clutched her twins closer, their small bodies trembling in her arms. She could feel the warmth of their breath against her skin, their trust in her palpable. It made the weight of her decision even heavier. What do you mean they'll kill to get it? She asked, adrenaline sharpening her words. What do I have? Alex hesitated, glancing back toward the entrance where the sound of harsh voices and the clatter of footsteps drew nearer. You're a target, Clara. Your kids are in danger. They believe you know something they want, something powerful. Powerful? She whispered, disbelief flooding her. What could I possibly know? It's not just about you. It's bigger, Clara. It's about all of us. He stopped abruptly, turning to look at her with an intensity that sent a chill rippling down her spine. The world is changing, fast, and people like them they'll stop at nothing. Clara's breath caught in her throat. There was a strange gravity around his words, making her wonder if they were both caught in some sort of twisted nightmare. Just as a chilling siren wailed nearby, and the sound of approaching footsteps echoed ominously down the alley, Alex tugged her further into the shadows. Come on! We have to go! Clara followed, but her mind raced. Panic clawed at her insides as doubt crept in. What do I know? She pressed, but Alex just shook his head, urgency glinting in his eyes. They reached a dead end. A tall, graffitied wall loomed before them. There's a way out, he breathed, scanning for something, anything. A window, maybe? Extreme options swirled in her mind, she wanted to scream. Why can't you just tell me? She felt her voice rise, thick with frustration and terror. I can't. Not yet. He shot back, desperation creeping into his tone. The footsteps grew nearer. Clara's heart raced. She had to know if Alex was right, or if he was just another man intent on using her. But the safety of her children mattered more. There. Alex pointed to a narrow ledge above the wall. If we climbed that, we might escape. Clara followed his indication, but just as she prepared to lift her kids, a flash of light illuminated the alley, a police flashlight. It swept the ground, revealing glimpses of them huddled in the darkness. Just hold on to me, Alex said, voice low yet firm. With a surge of adrenaline, he hoisted Clara and the twins toward the ledge. She could feel the cool surface beneath her hands, the grit of the wall scrubbing against her palm as she pulled herself up. Clara barely made it up when the officer's voice boomed, demanding they show themselves. The twins whimpered, clinging to her, and Clara felt the heat of panic surge in her chest. What now? Jump! Alex shouted, glancing back at the approaching lights. On 3. Are you crazy? Clara couldn't believe they were contemplating a jump into the unknown. Trust me. 1, 2. Clara squeezed her eyes shut, whispering a prayer for safety, the weight of the world crashing down on her. 3. They jumped, and everything went dark. She felt the crushing sensation of falling, arms stretched protectively around her twins, the air rushing past her. Then, an impact, and Clara's world shattered in a scramble of limbs and panicked breaths. What lay beneath them? Safety or catastrophe? Could they survive the plunge? Or would the truth swallow them whole? The shadows loomed as Clara fought to comprehend whether this leap into the unknown would truly lead to freedom or seal their fate in darkness. The moment they landed, Clara gasped, the air knocking from her lungs as they hit the ground. Panic shot through her body, a sharp ache in her side reminding her of the fall. The twins squirmed in her grasp, their cries a haunting reminder of the peril they were in. Get up! Alex urged, his voice a low hiss, eyes darting around to assess their surroundings. Clara struggled to catch her breath. She pushed herself up, brushing dirt off her clothes as adrenaline surged through her veins. Where are we? She gasped, still holding her children close. Behind the buildings, he replied, scanning for an escape route. Dim light filtered in from the street, illuminating the rough ground and crumbling debris around them. Clara's heart raced, every shadow seeming to pulse with threat. We need to keep moving, Alex insisted, nudging Clara gently onward. But beneath her resolve, fear gnawed at Clara's insides. The disorienting world around her blurred together, and every sound, distant sirens, the rustle of leaves felt amplified, as if the universe was closing in. Why can't you just tell me what's going on? She stopped, desperation leaking into her voice. What do they want from me? That's not something we can discuss here, Alex replied, urgency tightening his features. We have to get somewhere safe first. I promise I'll explain everything. Safe? She echoed, a bitter laugh escaping her lips. We just jumped from a ledge to avoid cops. How safe are we? That's why we need to hurry. Those lights back there could draw attention. He took her hand, guiding them through a narrow gap between 2 abandoned structures. As they crept forward, the oppressive silence of the alley pressed in on them. Clara struggled to calm her breathing, each inhale heavy with anxiety, the weight of her twins suffocating her. Suddenly, a distant shout broke the stillness, echoing ominously. Clara's heart lurched. It sounded like it was coming from the alley they had just fled. Go! Alex hissed, and they hurried down the path, a sense of nagging dread shadowing every step. A sharp bend in the alley opened into a small courtyard, littered with broken bottles and trash. But it also revealed an old, rusty door. There, he pointed. We can hide inside. Clara hesitated, battling the need to protect her children against the instinct to flee. What if it's a trap? Do you have a better idea? Alex shot back, urgency dancing in his eyes. Trusting her instincts, Clara nodded and propelled forward, pushing the door open. It creaked ominously, but they slipped inside, the stale air wrapping around them like a shroud. The room was dim, lit only by streaks of light pooling through rotting wood. Trash strewn everywhere, it felt abandoned but might offer momentary refuge. Clara pressed her back against the door, holding her breath as Alex pulled the twins into his arms. Sure, he murmured, but Clara's heart was still racing, the silence thickening into an oppressive weight. Footsteps thudded outside, the voices growing closer, harsh echoes of their pursuers, a group that would stop at nothing to find them. She could feel the walls closing in, and the twins clung to her, sensing her fear. Just stay quiet, stay close, Alex whispered, his eyes scanning the room. The sound of voices almost drowned out the pounding of Clara's heart. She clenched her fists, wanting to scream at the world that had turned upside down in a matter of hours. It's just over our heads, Alex said suddenly, pointing at a dilapidated staircase that spiraled upward. If we can get up there, maybe we can wait them out. The rooftop? Clara's mind raced, the weight of the decision pressing heavily on her. And then what? But as the footsteps grew louder, drowning out her doubts, she knew they had little choice. Come on, Clara urged, determination blooming in her chest despite the uncertainty. Each heartbeat echoed the need to survive, to shield her children. They began to climb, the stairs creaking beneath their weight, every step a reminder that danger lurked just outside. Would they find a way to escape this living nightmare? Or was the truth waiting to trap them in a place they couldn't fathom? As they reached the top, the door above seemed to whisper secrets Clara wasn't ready to hear. The stairs groaned under their weight like a creature afraid to give way. Clara clutched the twins tightly, her heart thundering in her chest. They emerged into a dimly lit room, dust particles swirling in the stale air that carried the stale smell of rot and neglect. The flickering light from a single bare bulb cast eerie, dancing shadows across the peeling walls. Alex peered through a small, grimy window, his face pale and tense. We might have a minute, he muttered, running a hand through his tousled hair. But we need to come up with a plan. Fast. Clara's breath caught. The notion of planning felt almost absurd. Here they were, high above the chaos, yet still trapped. What kind of plan? We can't stay here forever, she hissed, panic rising in her throat. Let me think, he snapped, the frustration evident in his voice. We don't have many options. If we wait too long, they'll find us. We need to get to the next building's roof. But how? Clara's voice trembled. She could hear the muffled sounds of feet shuffling below. Her pulse hummed in her ears, a warning bell ringing dissonantly against her thoughts. Those men, they know we're close. What if they go up first? The only way is through that door, he replied, gesturing towards a rusty hatch placed against the far wall. It leads to the fire escape on the outer side of the building. If we can get down and make it across the alley, we can lose them. Clara's mind raced. It felt like a gamble, one that could cost them everything. But as Alex took a deep breath, she realized that indecision could cost them just the same. Okay, we do it. But if it gets dangerous, I want you to run with the twins. No, he shook his head, defiance in his eyes. We all go together. Nothing splits us up. They approached the door, every creak a reminder that time was not on their side. Clara pushed it open just a fraction, dread crawling up her back as she glanced out into the void of the alleyway. The fire escape was barely visible, just a narrow pathway teetering off the side of the building. On the count of 3, Alex urged, positioning himself between her and the door. 1, 2, 3. They plunged into the darkness, hearts pounding as they clambered down the rickety stairs. Clara felt the twins' small fingers wrap around her shirt, their presence grounding her, reminding her that they were all in this fight together. Panic flashed like lightning across her mind. Each step made her second-guess their choices, blood roaring in her ears as every tiny sound around them seemed amplified. Then a shout pierced the night air, a voice she recognized all too well, one that sent chills racing up her spine. Clara? Alex? I know you're up there. Clara's breath hitched at the sound, her body freezing momentarily as dread seeped into her bones. The figure below their pursuer had found them. We have to go, she gasped, propelling the twins toward the final rung of the escape. They scrambled onto the fire escape just as a flashlight beam cut through the darkness, sweeping dangerously close. Clara's heart raced as they moved into a crouched position, holding their breaths as the beam wavered. "Do you see anything?" another voice called. They could be anywhere. They slipped down the last few steps, the world around them narrowing into a tunnel of whispers and shadows. Clara's sense of self-preservation blazed fiercely, veering her into a new realm of determination. Then she heard a distant siren's wail, growing louder by the second. Hope mingled with terror. "We can do this," she whispered to Alex, catching his eye. "We just need to stay alive until help arrives." He nodded, but didn't he respond? Fear stole his words, the resolve in his eyes mirrored hers. She prayed it would be enough. But before they could formulate their next move, a creaking sound pierced the silence above them, followed by heavy footsteps crashing across the rooftop. What awaited them in the open air could change everything. Clara pressed against the cold iron railing of the fire escape, her heart racing at the sound above them. She could feel the twins, tucked closely against her, their small bodies trembling with terror. Every nerve in her body was tingling, poised for action, yet paralyzed by fear. "Ship!" she whispered urgently, even though the danger was swiftly descending upon them, her voice a mere breath against the cacophony of adrenaline-fueled panic. The footsteps continued to stomp, echoing ominously, a brutal reminder that they were being hunted. "Alex, what do we do?" Her voice quivered, swallowed by the oppressive darkness. "We wait," he said, lowering himself a bit more against the metal structure, eyes darting to the rooftop. "If we're quiet enough, maybe they'll move on without checking here." Clara bit her lip, her pulse throbbing like an ominous drum. She scanned the alley, the shadows seemingly shifting and breathing as she tried to envision a way out. The distant siren still echoed, its wail merging with the boys' soft whimpers. This was it. Hope had caught fire in her chest, but fear was the ruthless wind threatening to snuff it out. Suddenly, Alex swore under his breath. "They're coming down the stairs." Clara's heart dropped. "What do we do? What do we do? We have to climb down faster." Before she could respond, a shadowed figure loomed at the exit of the fire escape. Clara's breath hitched. She quickly shoved the twins behind her, the instinct to shield them igniting an inferno of bravery in her veins. The figure was menacing, all hard angles and intentions cloaked in darkness. "I know you're down there. There's nowhere to run." Her heart slammed in her chest, a reckless rhythm of fight or flight. Clara strained to hear any hint of Alex's plan. But all she could hear was panic. The figure leaned over the railing, the beam of light from his flashlight dancing over their hiding spot. "Up! We go up!" Alex urged, seizing Clara's arm. They scrambled up the rickety steps, the clatter creating a symphony of chaos, echoing like sirens in Clara's mind. "Get the twins," she gasped, her voice barely a whisper. As they reached the upper landing, Clara felt her breath hitch again. The rooftop spread out before them like a vast, treacherous landscape, a desolate expanse that promised both freedom and peril. She pushed the twins forward into a crouch, fear boiling beneath her skin as the voice echoed again. "Clara, come out." "No, please," she muttered to herself, hands trembling as she opened a thin vent door at the edge of the roof. "We can't let him find us." "Clara, we can jump to the next ledge." Alex pointed urgently toward the adjacent rooftop. "It's our only shot." The thought of jumping sent a jolt of fear through her. The gap seemed insurmountable. "What if we fall?" "No time. We leave now." As the shout downstairs grew louder, Clara could hear the crunching of footsteps on the gravel rooftop below. The twins were wide-eyed, fear gripping their small bodies. Clara's instincts screamed at her to protect them. She couldn't let them down. "We jump on 3. But before they could mount their escape, the figure emerged from the shadows, flashlight beam flooding over them, illuminating the terror etched on Clara's face. "Found you!" Clara's heart dropped. The next few seconds felt impossibly slow. The looming figure was a predator, and they were the prey. She could see the glint of something metal in his hand, a weapon. And then, the world erupted into chaos. Clara's mind raced through a whirlwind of thoughts, but all she could focus on was getting the twins to safety. They were her priority. "Run!" she shouted as she pushed the twins ahead. But as they darted for the ledge, she realized the terrible weight of destiny hung over them. Their future, uncertain and precarious, was in that jump, and above them, a gust of wind howled. Would they make it in time? Would the sirens come? The question roared in her mind like a tidal wave, threatening to drown all hope. With the crushing knowledge that every second mattered, Clara took one last look back at the figure approaching. Ready to battle their fate head-on. What awaited them on the other side? Clara barely had time to react. The figure's flashlight pierced the darkness, illuminating the rooftop in stark, blinding white. The shadows shrunk and danced as fear gripped her tighter than a vice. She barely registered the metallic glint in the figure's hand, realizing it wasn't just a flashlight, it was a gun. "Go!" Alex yelled again, his voice hoarse, nearly swallowed by the wind. He shoved the twins toward the ledge, their tiny bodies colliding against her. Breath ragged, Clara felt the panic bubble in her chest. "Alex, no!" The enormity of the leap loomed like a chasm before her. The far rooftops seemed impossibly far. What if they... No time! We jump now! Their pursuer surged forward, a dark silhouette defined against the flashing light. Alex, eyes wide with desperation, grabbed Clara's arm, locking her focus on the ledge. It felt like the very air shifted, thickening under the weight of impending doom. 3, 2, 1. They leaped. Time slowed as Clara soared through the night, weightless yet tethered to a frenzied heartbeat that screamed danger. She landed hard, pain jolting through her legs, but adrenaline kept her grounded. The twins stumbled after, their cries mere echoes of the chaos they'd left behind. Behind them, the figure bellowed in fury, the sound raw and primal. "Get back here!" Clara's breath hitched as she glanced back, knowing the danger was closer than she dared to imagine. The thrill of escape was swiftly interrupted when she realized Alex was doubled over, his hand at his side. "What's wrong?" she urged, panic surging through her. "Nothing, just bruised," he gasped between breaths, eyes darting toward the edge of the roof where the shadows engulfed their pursuer. The laughter echoed in ironic mockery from the dark abyss. "Help me up," Clara demanded, tightening her grip on his arm, but her mind raced with thoughts of the twins. She had to protect them. But would they ever truly be safe? Before Alex could regain his breath, the figure leapt across the gap, the force of his body shaking the ledge beneath them. Clara's heart raced again. "We can't let him catch us." "Move!" Alex shouted, dragging himself toward the next rooftop. The twins followed, their faces pale, fear consuming their young innocence. Clara rounded the corner, pushing past the twin boys, her legs burning with each frantic step. "This way!" She led them toward the back of the building, looking for anything that would lead them to safety. But she could still hear the thuds of heavy footsteps pursuing them, each step pounding her heart harder in her chest. They ran along the rooftop, the city lights blinking like a distant promise of hope. Clara risked a glance back and froze. The figure was not just following, he was gaining on them, eyes wild with determination. And as he raised the gun, a tight knot formed in her stomach. Then, an eerie silence enveloped the rooftop. The wind whipped through them, carrying a whisper, "Over here." She turned, eyes wide. A fire escape ladder dropped down like a lifeline. "There! We can go down!" Clara shouted, urgency lacing her voice. Without waiting for a reply, she bolted toward the ladder, praying the twins had the courage to follow. As they reached the edge, she glanced back at Alex. "Don't look back. Keep going." But as he reached her, the figure emerged from the shadows, gun raised, aimed at Clara and the twins. In that split second, everything came crashing down. Would the gun be fired? Would they fall into darkness? And in the silence, hope felt as fragile as glass hovering in the air. The moment stretched, but what seemed like an eternity was shattered by the sound of a distant siren, a beacon of salvation, or perhaps just a cruel reminder that they were still in peril. Clara's heart raced as she clung to one last shred of resolve. We can't stop now, but would that be enough? Would they outrun the darkness that chased them relentlessly? The answer felt dangerously close, teetering on the edge of fate, and Clara could only wonder what awaited them just beyond the next corner. The caves broke around Clara like glass shattering at her feet. The harsh beam from the figure's flashlight cut through the dark, and in that fleeting moment, a primal fear ignited her instincts. She pulled the twins closer, their soft breaths fueling her fire as they sprinted toward the fire escape, legs pumping, hearts racing. "Hold on tight!" Clara shouted, her voice sharp and clear. Each footfall echoed with purpose, every second felt monumental, slipping away from danger but also from the safety of what she once knew. The fire escape trembled ominously beneath them, clanging as they climbed down. Clara could hear the figure's footsteps pounding closer, desperation mingling with rage. The urgency heightened with every metallic creak, the echo mirrored by sirens that sang from the streets below, weaving a tapestry of hope and terror. "Here!" Alex grunted, pushing a door open at the alley's base. They stumbled into the night, an escape route leading them down dimly lit streets closer to salvation. "We need to hide now." He dragged Clara and the twins into the abandoned warehouse barely a block away. Clara felt her pulse thunder in her ears, breathing heavily as they slumped against the cold, gritty wall. The air was thick with the smell of rust and dust. It was a stark contrast to the vibrant life outside, but it felt like a refuge at that moment. Fear simmered just beneath Clara's surface. "What do they want with us, Alex?" Her voice cracked, shivers threading through her resolve. She felt the twins' tiny hands clutching her shirt, their innocent faces that had already witnessed too much chaos. "Not just you," he replied, running hands through his hair, eyes darting around as if he could physically shield them from the looming darkness beyond. "It's bigger than we thought. Your kids, someone wants what you carry, something powerful." Clara frowned, confusion mingling with desperation. "Powerful? What could I possibly have?" Alex looked deep into her eyes, the gravity of their situation dawning on him. "Your twins, they're special, Clara. You may not know it yet, but they have abilities, potential that some will do anything to exploit." Emotion roared inside Clara. She shook her head, trying to come to terms with the enormity of Alex's words. "Special? I just see them as my babies." "Exactly. And that makes them precious to those in the shadows." A noise prompted Clara to clamp her mouth shut. The sound of footsteps echoed in the warehouse, and tension throbbed between them. Was it just an illusion of safety? They needed to get away. "Quick! Up there!" Alex pointed to a loft, barely lit but with a clear view of the entrance. They darted up a rickety staircase, breaths ragged but synchronized with determination. Clara's head spun. She was caught in a web of surviving for her children, yet every thread felt heavy with dread. Once inside, they crouched near the edge, peering down at the shadows slipping under the entrance. Clara felt a lump forming in her throat. In that moment, reality twisted into a reflection of the life she had fought so hard to hold on to. Was this the end of her fight? "What if they find us?" she whispered. "They won't," Alex reassured her, though his voice bore the weight of uncertainty. "We're here for a moment, but we can't linger. The moment they see you," footsteps drew nearer, and Clara's instincts screamed. "Stay close and quiet." The fierce grip of fear clawed at her throat, pulling at her sanity. Suddenly, the door burst open, flooding the loft with blinding light. Clara stifled a gasp, heart pounding furiously. They were exposed and alone, shadows merging as figures entered. She pushed the twins behind her, grounding herself in their presence. The sensation of fate clinging to her shoulders was as relentless as the air tightening around them. The figures were men, cloaked in shadows ominous and threatening. "We know you're in here," one called out, voice booming through the empty space like an ominous echo. "It's time to come out." Clara felt cold sweat trickle down her spine, her breath hitching. Alex's expression hardened. "This is it. We fight. Together." The thought of clashing with danger fueled Clara with a sense of courage. Would she succumb to fear, or would she harness every ounce of strength within her? "I'll protect them," she declared fiercely. On 3 we jump, Alex said, strength filling his tone. 1, 2, 3. They leapt from the loft, hitting the ground in a roll. Clara felt her body collide with a thick layer of dust, but adrenaline was now coursing through her veins. The twins shrieked, an echo of fear that drove her on. They raced to the nearest exit, bursting through the door just as the figures began to follow. Clara felt bravery coating her like armor. The chase resumed, the thrill of purpose guiding her. Over here, she urged, spotting alleyways that led to uncertainty but promised escape. Behind them, footsteps thundered, the men's voices heightened with anger. But anguish would not slow her down. Don't look back, Alex shouted, pushing the twins forward. And they pressed onward, plunging into the thrilling darkness, ready to face whatever awaited them. The world felt vast and uncharted, every alley a new challenge, every shadow a reminder of the fight they waged together. Promise me we get out of this together, Clara urged, words strained but firm. I swear, Alex replied, a fierce determination igniting in his eyes. United by a force stronger than fear, they bolted into the night, a tight-knit family determined to overcome whatever lay ahead, to escape the clutches of darkness that threatened their future. And finally, as they fled into the unknown, Clara realized that power wasn't just about the twins' capabilities or Alex's past shadows. It was in the bond they shared, fighting against the forces of the world together, one heart pounding after another. So they ran, fueled by hope and fierce love, daring to believe that freedom awaited just beyond the darkness, waiting to blossom into a new dawn. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next thrilling chapter of their journey. This is the moment to show your support for the channel. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. And flood the comments section below with your thoughts and theories about what's next. Don't wait even one more second to share this story with 5 friends who need to see this incredible conclusion.